I wish to speak about the desires and longings of the soul and how it is often ignored and unrecognized by the individual. I have talked extensively about the human condition and those energies, thoughts, and things that are contrary to God's laws and to the well-being of the soul, for as each individual ventures out into the world encumbered by the influences, the thoughts, and the inclinations that are impressed upon that individual by the human condition. So the soul is buried under layers of conditions which we call incrustations, which muffle the desire of the soul from its true expression in communion with God, for every soul was created with the capacity to communicate and be in communion with God. Every soul desires this reconnection with God, but when the soul incarnates into the world, often that connection is diminished and eventually lost as the human condition and the various conditions that come with earthly life serve to create a barrier between the soul and God. So the soul incarnated into the flesh has a great struggle throughout its life to become heard and recognized in a conscious way by each individual. In your secular world, very few find their way to God. Rather they are consumed by their pursuits and thoughts, desires that reflect materialism, and an urge for the expression of their natural love capacities. The natural love in its expression and pursuit is of the mind, and the natural inclinations of the mind and the deeper inclinations of the soul are often not recognized, and that pursuit of God is not deemed as necessary in one's life. Indeed, the necessity of connecting with God and being with God, in harmony, in grace, in love is not a requirement of life, at least the life that humanity has created for itself. Yet for life to progress and for the earthly conditions of darkness to dissipate, then the enlivening of the soul, the awakening of the soul becomes a powerful catalyst for this purification of the earthly conditions and the conditions within each individual. Each soul desires to be in harmony with God. It is a longing, a true longing within the soul, for the soul's purpose and abilities and gifts come into full alignment when God is present, and His love empowers and awakens these things within the soul. Few truly understand this. As I have said many times, the human condition makes for a great burden upon the subtle and sensitive consciousness of the soul. So the soul is neglected. Just as anything in God's creation that is not exercised in the way that it is meant to be expressed, there is a weakening and a withering of that gift or capacity within the individual. Even though the desire within the soul continues to burn in some lonely corner or aspect of soul consciousness, much of what can facilitate and encourage this reaching and bursting out towards God is hobbled by the incrustations of the soul, where desire and longing becomes very faint indeed, a whisper in the background of a very noisy, conscious self, engaged in so many material things and mindful things. For the fortunate few, they feel compelled to search, to find a way towards spiritual fulfillment, and this is often motivated by this desire and longing of the soul for God. Those individuals who have found their way need to encourage others to do so, not by an imploring and an insistence, but by their own example and their gentle encouragement that indeed life is not fulfilled without the soul finding its way into the conscious experiences of the individual through life. In this way, there is a great balance that is achieved, for as the soul longs for God and receives God's response in the inflowing of His essence of the divine love into the soul, so it ignites the many faculties and capacities of the soul. The soul comes into joyful communion with God, and that joy is like a warm glow that infuses every part of the individual. It brings a surety, a peace, a knowing that few possess upon your world. This combination of feeling and perception, of joy, shines through that individual and the light that is produced by this condition. That light is the greatest teacher of all, for those who come close to you will feel the difference, the condition, the light energy that is emanating through you to that individual, and this sparks towards the other soul a glimmer, an insight into its own longing, so that there is a spark of recognition, some sense of understanding, and indeed in many a desire to be within this condition of love and peace and joy. This provides an open door between yourselves and another, so that you may communicate this proof as simply and humbly as you are able, that the truth is direct, the truth reaches the soul. In turn, the soul responds. For some, that response is like a burning within, and that burning is the deep longing of the soul. For some, there is a mindful recognition that this is the truth, and it becomes a great motivator towards truth. But, in essence, the longing of the soul is the great motivator in prayer, as one prays for God to touch them and connect with them. If that burning and longing of the soul are incorporated in one's prayer, then that communication to God is direct and powerful. When one's prayer is merely an intellectual expression that reflects dimly the soul's true desire, the results will be somewhat mediocre. Many in this form of prayer do not feel much in terms of a response from God. Rather, they feel they have done what they must do, having acknowledged the opening of the door of truth. But indeed, they have not gone so far as to step into the experience of that truth. This is a common experience which brings the resulting frustration and lack of awareness of the experience of receiving God's love within. Indeed, the mind creates a great barrier to this. Since humanity has pursued the way of the mind for generations upon generations, it is indeed a great barrier towards understanding, acknowledging, and knowing the experience of the soul. I urge those who struggle, to not give up but to be persistent, to have faith, to seek God in prayer whenever there is a moment to do so. Often when these prayers are set forth, there is a glimmer of the longing as part of that prayer. In this way, there will always be a response, for this is the law of activation working for the benefit of the soul. Few will feel absolutely nothing in their prayers. For those who are in this unfortunate condition of numbness, or are so consumed within the mind that nothing that is of the subtle and more refined nature of the soul can penetrate that consciousness, there is always hope, and God will always find a way to reach out to those individuals, provided they are longing and desirous of that experience. The experience of knowing God and of feeling God's touch upon you is unique to the individual. As is so often the case with human nature, that there is a desire to compare and to mimic others in their experiences. Yet, this also serves to block the true experience of the soul with God, for there is a unique and beautiful flowering of each individual soul. Yes, it is good to share your experiences, to acknowledge them, to say to others, "This is my journey. This is what God has created within me, and I, in my gratitude and joy, acknowledge this and wish to share this." In many cases, by revealing these experiences, it encourages others to acknowledge their own personal journey to God and to ignite a further longing within them. But each journey has its own timing, its own expressions, reliant upon the free will of each individual and the efforts that they may make towards the goal of freeing the soul from the tyranny of the mind and awakening the soul to the expansive and infinite relationship that comes with God's touch upon the soul. In time, every individual discovers their own soul, whether that be upon the path of purification through the natural love or that of the divine love, bringing to that individual the infinite possibilities of a soul awakened and transformed in this love. So God's will, His plan, His laws are set in motion, affecting every individual created and all the souls that are yet to come into their own individuality and expression in the universe. Yet each individual soul longs for its Creator and longs to reconnect with that place in which it existed before coming and incarnating into the world. That journey is a journey towards at-one-ment with God, a journey which few understand and even fewer truly step upon this path towards at-one-ment. But indeed, it is that longing within that continues to motivate every soul in some way to find its true communion and at-one-ment with God, for in this communion and at-one-ment is a joy so vast, a wonderment so deep, an expansiveness so profound, a knowing so complete that all other experiences in life and in the spirit world pale in comparison to this true sense of at-one-ment with God. As the soul grows in the transformative blessing of the divine love and becomes more sensitive and able to comprehend and experience this true connection with God, then the expansiveness, those qualities of which I speak, become more intense and more intense, never to be diminished but always to grow toward greater at-one-ment with our beloved Creator, our Heavenly Father. This is what the soul truly longs for. Though this experience may feel far off and out of reach, it is destined to be the case for each and every soul who pursues the path of love. Though they may not have this true and wondrous experience in their earthly lives, at least they are laying the foundation for such and have begun their journey early on in their lives, creating a great advantage for their spiritual progression as it continues on in the spirit world and eventually into the celestial heavens. Indeed, to lay a foundation here on earth is a great blessing for each individual as it sidesteps many lessons and trials and tribulations that may come in the world of spirit and also upon the material world. It is that longing of the soul, as I have said, which motivates and informs your choices provided you are willing to listen and are sensitive enough to hear and know it as a true, deep and vital part of you. I urge you to continue to listen. I urge you to continue to feel that burning within your soul, that true desire for God, and if you are willing and able to put aside your material concerns momentarily in prayer, to truly focus upon those inner places where the soul speaks and many blessings, communications, and guidance will come, the soul will slowly awaken and come into its own. As we observe these things of the emerging human soul from our lofty heights, it gives us great joy. Just as a gardener sees his garden coming to life after a long winter, so we see the spring emerging, the souls coming to life, their beauty beginning to form and be expressed in their unique ways. So it is with you. As you look back upon your life, do you not see that you have progressed and grown and emerged from the murkiness of ignorance and error to the brightness of truth and love expressed through the wisdom of your own soul? So much comes in the simple experience of connecting with God. So much more is awaiting each individual soul, allowing the grandeur, the expansiveness, the wonderment, and the joy of a soul filled with God's love emerging through the personality of the individual and expressing itself in all its beauty and gifts, strength, truth, and clarity, all infused with love, bringing forth many blessings upon this world as God's instruments, God's children, God's beautiful souls, coming into their own. Continue to long for God, beloved souls. Continue to seek God. As you tread upon your path of light, may you see God in all that you are, all that is and all that can be, for this is God's creation. May you see deeply, with deep understanding, with deep joy and appreciation, a life gifted to you, laid before you step by step in a world created to nurture you on a journey created to awaken you and to help you to mature spiritually. The vision of the soul will come to each individual. You will come to see clearly and know fully these things of God. You will not be held back by the human condition. Rather, with each step you will shed this condition, this cloak. This burden that enwraps the souls upon your world will fall away as you don the new garb, the garb of love that envelops the soul. So you will be freed. You will come to know a self within you that has been a stranger but will truly be your loving, most wondrous friend which will guide you to God, time and time again, so that you will know fulfillment. You will not know loneliness. You will not feel isolated, but you will come to see your own self in its complete and wondrous creation and find great comfort, joy, and fulfillment in this knowing. As you come to know your own soul, to befriend your soul, so the great portals of truth, of love, of vision and knowing will open to you in ways that you have never imagined. This experience will be a unique journey for each of you. Until that beautiful gift comes where you and your soulmate come together and experience this wonderment in complete harmony, the journey will be full of many experiences, many steps upward towards pure and powerful truth. Your journey will be accompanied by many bright spirits and angels who seek to assist you and accompany you as you continue to grow and discover your own potential, your soulful self. So, beloved souls, I encourage you forward. I wish that you will know deep comfort and faith and strength that comes with knowing that this journey has only just begun for each of you, and that the promise of this journey is great and full of much joy in its unfoldment. May God bless you upon your path, beloved souls. May your soul continue to grow in love. May you continue to awaken, opening your eyes to the truth of God's creation, the truth of your own soul. In this, the unfolding of the universe will be laid out before you. The ecstasy of true understanding and knowing, this great recognition of the soul, will be yours, joy beyond joy, this eternal expansion of the soul awakening over and over again. The depth of this profound awakening will continue to show its way into your soul. May God bless you, beloved souls. I am your brother and friend, Jesus, Master of the celestial heavens. I am also your humble servant who comes to teach and bring these truths to you, to encourage you and uplift you, to bring to you all that you require upon this journey, for as you know, the angels have traveled the road that you have traveled and have experienced the travails of that road, having deep compassion for your struggles. So we continue to uplift and support, to guide and protect, to love and nourish you upon this journey. As God's instruments of light and love and truth, so we are with you always. May God bless you, beloveds, and keep you always in His light, helping you to know the true longings of your soul. God bless you. My love is with you always.